is go chemtrails, Google, Wikipedia, and it says, yeah, it's a conspiracy theory. So what happens is the truth becomes kind of obscure. It's so difficult. As somebody looking at this, with a normal 9 to 5, to get to the point where they're comfortable to speak out and not feel ridiculed, or even if they do, they've gone beyond it. I kind of went beyond it a while ago, started to talk to some friends. They kind of thought I was nuts. But after a while, when you get to the heart of this issue, you kind of transcend all of that to a degree. So I've put together an A4 sheet to kind of steer you away from some of the other stuff. Interesting as they are, I must say, all of the subjects kind of up there are interesting in their own right. So when you get past all of that, when you steer past, you navigate through all of the smokescreen, alien stuff, you actually get some really good info. This was a report by the Belfoot Group in 2010. This is a kind of scientific study on contrail science, and it was reviewed by Dr. Vermeeren, I think, and he was an aerospace engineer at Delft University in Holland, and he put his stamp on it, basically saying, yep, it all holds up. It all holds up. And then he passed that to a Belgian mayor, and the mayor then put it in front of the United Nations, NATO, and a host of embassies to no avail. A.C. Griffiths, if I introduce you to this guy, very courageous guy, very courageous. He's no longer with us. He started talking about all sorts of issues. He used to work for the CIA. He did work for the CIA. He did some work for the US Air Force and the NSA, the National Security Agency in the States. And yeah, he held the cryptographic clearance for various things, and one of them was the Project Cloverleaf. And for those of you who know, Project Cloverleaf is the name given by the military and the pilots to this geoengineering program. So yeah, quote, the aerosol program, the chemtrail program. I'm actually talking about getting inside the program at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where it's being managed. And there are numerous. Again, on the data sheet, I'll give you some guides to other whistleblowers. And again, good information. You get past all the smoke screening stuff, and you start to find patents that talk about stratospheric Welsbach seeding for reduction of global warming. Now, Welsbach materials are oxides of metals. So in this patent 5003186, it talks about adding tiny particles to fuel of jetliners, being aluminium oxide, thorium oxide, and it talks about the size of them being 10 to 100 microns. You'd expect to find academic studies, and again, there are many. In 2010, the BBC spoke about a study by Hayward et al. In 2009. And it's called A Case Study of the Radiative Forcing of Persistent Contrails Evolving into Contrail-Induced Cirrus. So that they can't use chemtrails in academia. And this is a good one. I want you to follow this. There, again, apologise for the quality, but down the east coast, we see the circles laid by military aircraft, and these are the circles that they're wanting to observe. Now, these are persistent jet contrails, chemtrails. The T's you see here are the tracers. So where they cross will be, again, the data values, so they can see what the wind is doing at the altitude. And I'll run this in increments of half-hour steps. So that's half an hour later, 1 hour later, 1.5, 2 hours, 2.5 hours later. So pretty much, with the addition of some other chemtrails here, the most of the central and East Midlands, all the way up to Newcastle and the south, the Isle of Wight, is covered in man-made cloud. 2.5 hours. So what's happening, I'm finding, is you wake up and you see some really big spread contrails by 6 o'clock in the morning. And you see some lighter ones go over, 7, 8 o'clock, and then bam, 11 o'clock. It's either hazy or the low-level cumulus cloud comes in and you can't see what's going on above. Right, I'm going to firstly congratulate you, actually. One of the reasons when you engage with people with this, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Who wants to know about bad news? Nobody. So I congratulate you. We're not talking about a Euro lottery win and each of you got $500,000 to spend on houses and cars and stuff. I think a lot of you came here this evening expecting to hear kind of challenging bad news. So yeah, it's commendable because a lot of people just don't want to come into this area. And the good news is this. You hear people go, yeah, but what can we do? What can we do? And government wants us to feel totally apathetic to all of this. The Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative, again, funded by the Royal Society, they govern the issues around geoengineering and how to approach the public with it, those kind of issues. You can get some meeting minutes, and they're governed by a set of principles called the Chatham House Rules. And for those of you who are looking into societies, old societies, Chatham House, fascinating. I thoroughly recommend you look at the Council on Foreign Relations and the Royal Institute of International Affairs. Again, another talk. So if you Google SRMGI, so Radiation Management Governance Initiative, goals, concerns, principles regarding SRM research, you get this link and it takes you to a PDF, and it's the meeting minutes, and they're all kind of P's. And the Chatham House rules are, you can report what's being said, but you can't report who's saying it. In yellow, talking about geoengineering, it says involve general public because A, they pay for it, B, they have the power to stop it. Keep them informed, and this is another icky one, keep them informed of what geoengineering is, but don't necessarily ask their permission. Go ahead and do it, essentially, when you read between the lines. So the good news of this is they acknowledge that we do have some kind of leverage if we take the right channels, the right approach, we talk to people, we inform people the correct way. So it sounds a bit cheesy, but knowledge, I've put can be power, because it's not always power, because knowledge is nothing unless you share it or you act upon it in some way. So you can do something, I believe. And the first step is, as I said, none of this is kind of any true value unless you look into it yourself to a degree. I'm not asking you to believe me. It would be nice, but I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you essentially to kind of do your own poking around, please. And you have to understand counterintelligence, and this is a big part of it, the smokescreen stuff. One of the basic principles of counterintelligence techniques that the military use and media use is that when you want a piece of intelligence to be countered, what you do is you put somebody else up talking about the same stuff, Mr. B, or whatever his name is. Yeah, geoengineering's really bad, the government's really bad, aliens, And by association, I'm going to be taken out with him. I'm going to be made crazy. Oh yeah, that David guy, he talks about geoengineering as well. Same as the alien guy. So we have to up our game and our understanding of how to conduct research and how counterintelligence works. That's a key part. We have to become a little bit smarter, I think, generally. And once you know what's going on, you can spread the word. We've got new media, which is a fantastic tool. I don't particularly like Facebook, but it has its place in some instances. You can take action to start protecting your health. There are some good kind of detoxing programs and compounds that you can take. Join a community group. So yeah, with the new media stuff, you can join a community and help out. This is too big for me to tackle on my own. Way too big. I've met some really good people in the field who I'm kind of working with towards doing something with this. So one of my calls to action this evening is that if anybody has any skills or time, whether it's half an hour a week or whether it's 3, 4, 5 hours a week, help me, please. We're putting together a framework where it doesn't matter what skill sets you have, you slot into a kind of framework, whether it's IT, whether it's putting together kind of research, little tasks or whatever. So yeah, eventually when all of that kind of culminates, you can start to feel a bit more empowered actually to say no. So the tools that we've got in place, we've got a Unified Atmospheric Preservation Act, the UAPA, that is going to go online as a petition. I'm completing a directive that I want to present to the House of Commons with my group, who have done a lot of legwork on putting together a directive. I co-founded the international directive to ban geoengineering. There are many national groups out there doing their own thing, which is fantastic. Some US groups doing great stuff, some Australia, New Zealand, other parts, Italy. There's some great groups in the UK actually, London, Kent. But there's nothing out there at the moment that unifies all of this. And I'm trying to do something about that with some colleagues. This is my puppy, the British Association for the Prevention of Geoengineering. And I've kind of set this up as a professional entity stroke forum for professional people, academics, researchers, politicians, industry professionals, to kind of create a safe environment for those people to start talking about this. Stigmatization is incredible. And I've got a personal story. I can't go into it totally because I'm still with Reading University. But I can tell you this, that when I approached the university with my new findings, with my holistic understanding of how this fits into the bigger picture and geopolitics and history and weather science, meteorology, population reduction, social regime, I was expecting them to say, no, hang on David, you got it wrong. But they didn't. I'm going to put a personal website up. I bought davidlim.com. It's not live yet, but this is kind of where I will have my personal information. So we've spoken about it. It's not difficult. I'm sure once you have got to grips with this stuff, you can do exactly what I'm doing. And if you can't, I will help you. I just have one last slide very quickly, and there's some people that I need to thank actually, and probably in this order as well, because my wife has put up with me harping on about this stuff, constantly for the past year or so. I've spent way too much time away from the house, and when you enter this kind of area, it's infectious. Actually, it's addictive because people want to know the truth. Researchers, I've got a lot of information from Michael Murphy, Dane Wigginton, Scott Stevens, Rosalind Peterson, G. Edward Griffin, Alan Watt. Alex Longman is a colleague of mine who I'm working with through the CP UK, and I'd like to thank you. So thank you very much.